We've got a ton of stuff to go out for zinc coating and powder coating, but before we can send it out to our guys, we need to make sure that our parts are prepared. So let's get started with this frame. Now this 2005 frame that we're replacing that 03 with is a really nice frame, and there are updated gussets in this upper shock area that do help reinforce that. Now from the factory, the 2003 and I believe the 2004 as well, they were notorious for getting cracks up in these upper shock mounts. Now even with this gusset, I'd like to add just a little bit more. We're trying to keep this looking as OEM as possible. So I'm going to add a small little triangle on each corner. I've got these gussets. These are left over from a 250R kit, and I think they're going to work just fine. My plan is to take these and cut them right across the front here, and we'll have these little triangles with an arc here that kind of makes it look factory. You know, here's one of the OEM gussets right here. And we're just gonna fill this little area in right here on both sides. Just that tiny little bit is gonna add a nice bit of structure. First things first, let's cut these to the proper size. We'll just go right about there, take our Sharpie, and we're gonna cut it right along that line right there. Beautiful. All right, let's chuck this bad boy up. Just like so. We're gonna take our handy dandy Milwaukee Sawzall, freaking best tool of all time, and we're just gonna chop this sumbitch right off. And as I'm doing this, I'll be doing the same work to both sides. Oh, almost forgot my safety glasses. Looks pretty good. I was going to put a bevel on this, but I think because of the contour of the frame, a nice bead of weld should go in there no problem. You know what the heck, I've got the tools out. I'm just going to put a little bit of a bevel on this one edge and in the corner here. That's just going to help us to get a really good solid weld. All right, our gussets are cut. This side is looking good too. Now, even on raw steel like this, a lot of times there's some sort of coating or buildup on them. So it's a good idea to just take light sandpaper or a Scotch-Brite. And we're just gonna clean off the contact areas where we're gonna be welding. I'm gonna use this 120 sand grit on this die grinder. This is an awesome tool for doing this kind of work. And I'm gonna do this, I can do it real easy, just like that, so that you got some fresh, bare steel. Our gussets are prepped, so now we just gotta prep the frame real quick. I'm gonna use that same die grinder and strip our coating off. All right, man, that looks beautiful. We are ready to weld. Now there's really only one of two ways to make a professional weld. Either by completely guessing on the dials on the welding machine, or just by cranking them both all the way up. And that way it'll blow straight through the tubing. That's the way we're gonna do it. All right, let's tack this bastard on here. All right. I'm actually gonna try to mimic these factory welds. Normally when I would weld, I would go in like a swirly motion and do the stack of donuts or whatever they call it. And I can't even joke about that, dude. Are you serious? So I'm just gonna drag the welder and try to mimic these factory welds. A lot of people say that the factory welds are crap. I'm a pretty crappy welder, so this might work out really well. I was joking about the welder settings earlier, but truthfully, it can be difficult figuring out the right settings, because I think this pipe is thinner, and then we've got the thick gusset, and I haven't welded on this frame other than tacking, so sometimes just going straight for it, the settings can be off. So, you know, hopefully this will turn out nice though. Looks pretty good. Oh, bastard. We've got a bad ground. Well, this one came out pretty good. You know, I think they're pretty close to matching the factory look. Once I just got a little bit of a splatter, I'll knock that off of there. And once that's powder coated and everything matches, I think that'll look pretty factory. This side, I don't know what was going on. I had like a bad ground or something, and you can see a good amount of splatter, and I was just having trouble for whatever reason. So I think it'll look okay though. We'll get the splatre, we'll get that off of there. And again, once it's powder coated, I think that'll match the OEM welds pretty good. And if you didn't know any better, you know, you might just think that it came from the factory that way. Straight from the factory. All right, those aren't the worst welds I've ever done, but they're close to it. And for this project, it's perfect. Now I just have to strip the frame of any grommets or rubber bushings and stuff. We've got this big rubber bushing up here, and we've got these bushings on the side. I think these are all for the gas tank, but we want to save these so we can put them on after the powder coat. We've got a number of these cable stays that are just clipped onto the frame, and there's these cable stays under the frame here. I think if I come through the side, I might be able to compress them one side at a time and then spin it to the other side and get the other one. There we go. There we go. Save them. You can see the little clips. If you just yank these out, they'll snap right off. But this will clean up and we can reuse this. And there's just one last thing I want to do before this is ready for powder coat, and that's take out our steering stem bushing. And that should just tap through. Probably be easier if we do it on the ground. The bushing is right here. It knocks out the top, so we'll come from the bottom. I'm just gonna take a socket that's about the same outer diameter of the bushing. We're just gonna smash this bastard through. Does it get any easier? I just don't know. But now our frame is ready to go to Bonehead Performance for powder coating. Now I'm working on keeping everything organized here. We've got the frame that's gonna be blue. We've got this bin right here. This is all silver pieces. I decided we're gonna leave the heel guards silver, but I'm not gonna do bare aluminum. I think it'll look a little better if we coat that in the same silver that we're gonna be doing the subframe and the A-arms with. I don't know that the bare aluminum will be the right look. Back here, this is all vapor blasting stuff. That's gonna be scrap over there, the old frame and whatnot. And I've just been trying to like bag and keep things generally organized. You know, a lot of this prep work for powder coating and stuff is really boring and monotonous, and it's just not fun to do. So I'm gonna do all of this on my own, and I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, we can do some of this stuff together. We've got hubs here that we've got to strip. We've got a rear carrier, and then I've got this carburetor that's in worse condition than I thought, so we're gonna crack into that in just a moment. I've also got to break down the A-arms, take the bearings out, and these lower ball joints on these factory A-arms are not replaceable. I do have a fix for that, a mod, if you will. We'll be doing that also at the end of the video. Now, typically when I send my hubs to Bonehead, and for you guys that are new to the channel, Bonehead is my powder coating company. Freaking awesome company. I did a video out there showing how they do their work. If you're interested in it, you should definitely check it out. I'll put it right here. Anyways, usually when I send these out, I just take the bearings out and I leave the studs in, and they can mask everything off and make it work. But a lot of times the coating gets blasted off of these threads. And then my fix has always been using these cap lug nuts that go over the threads and protect them from rusting. But we're going for the OEM look here. And plus, I'd like to take it a step further from moving forward anyways, and actually press out these studs, refinish the studs, and then we can press them back in once they come back from powder coat. So let's take the bearings out first. First thing we'll remove are the little collars in here. These come out real easy. And I think from the factory, these are yellow zinc. So I'm gonna put them in the yellow zinc, right like that. I've got everything all organized for Moto Blast. And again, for those new to the channel, Moto Blast is my vapor blasting and zinc coater. Why aren't you subscribed to the channel? Flip this over, and we've got one on the back side too. And when you're doing this, just be really careful. You don't want to scratch the inside of your hubs. You can really do that with the seals. You know, there are seal removal tools. I actually prefer a wide blade flathead over those. And I'm just twisting the screwdriver. And you don't want to push it all the way to the edge. If you push all the way to the edge on the inside, you're going to scratch the inside of the hub. So I'm going like almost all the way in. And I'm not pushing this way. I'm just twisting. And the twisting is going to lift the seal out of the hub. Really easy. Sometimes they're not that easy, but these ones came right out. Now I used to take a punch and just try to catch that inner bearing race and smash the bearings out, but I have since become more ninja-like, and I actually use the proper bearing tool now. Not 100% ninja, you'll see, it's still kind of hack, but this works a lot better. Now the key to this is getting a good bearing puller. This actually came from Harbor Freight. It's their Pittsburgh one, and I forget how much it was. I think it was like $70. It's better than the Amazon ones, okay? If I can find this kit on Amazon, I'll link it below. But just don't get one of those really cheap ones. They have bearing puller kits like this for like under $50. I had one of those and I struggled with it for a long time. It's like they sort of work, but they sort of don't. And it's just a nightmare. So we're gonna take the appropriate size here. And what this has, if you guys can see, it's a little dark. That's better. We've got like fingers on the top here, and you can see they all come together at the top. And basically this will go in, that little inner lip goes on the inside of the bearing, and when we thread this in, you'll see it expand. So you want to find the one that fits closest to the inner bearing race. This one is just barely on the inside. Sometimes it doesn't even fit. You have to push it in and it kind of like clips. We'll get right on that inner bearing race. Right about there. You can screw this in by hand as far as you can get it. Then we'll tighten this bastard down with some wrenches. And you want to make it pretty snug, but not so tight, because if you go super, super tight, you'll actually stretch out the tool. Those fingers aren't that thick. But you do want to go pretty tight, because you don't want the damn thing slipping out of the bearing race. All right, that's good and tight. Now you can sometimes get this out just by holding it by hand and smashing the slide hammer on there, but the best way to do it is to fix whatever it is. So this hub, I don't know that I want to put this in the vise, but I think I can mount this to the edge of the bench here with some clamps and hopefully not damage anything. You know, when you're working out of a garage at home, just like a regular old garage, there's no set way to chalk up anything or to do any job. You just got to find a way to get it done. It's pretty tight. Now the slide hammer threads on to the spreader, and I just make this pretty much finger tight. You just don't want it to be wiggling around, or you can actually mess up the threads of the tool. And now we'll just go to town. That's really in there, huh? All right, this bastard's really stuck in there. So we're gonna give this thing some heat and hopefully not melt our plastic clamps. All right, let's see if that does it. Fire in the hole! Woo! Heat for the win, man. What a difference. And then this bearing that is actually loose on here, you can see how it works now that it's like this. You see, as it comes up to the top, that inner lip is pulling on the inside of the bearing. And to get that off, we're just going to loosen up the tool. Bearing slides right off, and we can resell this on eBay. I think this shit is pretty hot in here. We've got our spacer. Man, look at the coating on that. I'm not even going to have to send this out. Wow. That's a sign that the seals did their job. I don't think water ever got in there. A lot of times these spacers are really corroded and rusty. You know, water gets inside those rims or the hubs, and it just sits in there, and the stuff kind of rots. And then the opposite side is super easy. We can just smash it on through with a socket and a sledgehammer. And our hubs are done. Now that's still hot. Now we need to get those studs out, so we're going to use the press. This may seem like an unattainable tool to the average guy, but it's really not. I got this at Harbor Freight. And it wasn't that expensive. I can't remember exactly how much it was, but it was only like a couple $100. It's just big. That's the only thing. It's a huge tool. That's what she said. All right, now, first thing we want to do is make sure the tool is about where we want it, so this platform can raise up or down with these holes here on the side. You basically just lift it up and you slide the peg up like that, and you got to do both sides, of course, but that's the first step. So then we got these steel cross plates right here, and in order to press this out, you want to find a socket that's just big enough for the outside diameter of the back of our studs, because you want to support the back. When you're pressing this out, you're putting tons of force down on this, and if you don't have the support right behind the studs, you can actually break your hubs. And then we want to get this right in the center of our jack, and then we're going to spin on a lug. Oh shit! We're going to spin on a lug nut, just in an effort to protect our threads, because we're going to be recoating these. We're not replacing the studs, we're going to reuse them. We'll bring this nut down just about to the surface so that it's pressing on the nut and on the stud. We want to divide that pressure, and then we'll just bring it on down, make sure that it's straight and not coming down at an angle or anything. And this should press the stud right out. Yep. All right, we can only go as far as that nut allows us. But once it's broken free, we can take off this nut and we'll push it the rest of the way through. Easy. There is our stud. And the splines look good on it too. Okay, so this hub is ready to rock and roll. We can send this off to Bonehead Performance. Having the studs out of there should make their job a little bit easier. All of the holes look really good. Like, I don't see any, the holes aren't wallowed out or anything. Sometimes that can happen. And then the studs spin. And also, the studs, the splines look like brand new. So we can recoat these. And again, these could be replaced just as easily. Honestly, probably, it may even be more cost effective to do it that way. But if we can save it, I like saving things. That's the whole thing of a restoration. I don't like to replace every single thing. If it has to be replaced, it has to be replaced. But these, we can definitely save. We're going to put those in the blue zinc pile for James over at Motoblast. Now we just have to do the same thing with our rear hubs. These might be a little bit tougher because they're steel and not aluminum. I should probably put my safety glasses on just in case something explodes. When it comes to these things, steel is usually a little bit tougher. We're going to use the same method as before. Oh, actually, we're not. If you look at the back of our hub here, there's a raised portion of this steel. And when you put the socket on there, it will not lay flush. That little lip there makes it hang up. So we're going to have to do this a different way. All right, guys, I've got a plan. This corner on my plate will come behind the hub pretty nicely, and that should support it no problem. And on this back side, I have another piece of steel just to kind of keep our hub nice and even. Same as with the front hubs, we're going to thread this nut on just to try to protect our studs. Make sure we're centered up here. This should do it. Ooh, it's tight. That is tight. Come on now. Ooh, that's a lot of pressure. Oh, shit. Whew. I almost caught my finger in the rail there. Holy shit. Oh, man, ain't it fun restoring old Z400s? Jesus. That was kind of scary. That was almost as loud as an acorn falling on a car. For a second, I thought I heard a gunshot.
The noise was reported to be an acorn.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
Man, they're freaking tight. All right, guys, we managed to get all of our studs out without breaking anything. Incredible. Unfortunately, the back studs, I think we're going to have to replace them. If you look at the splines on them, they're kind of flat. So I guess because this is steel, when they press these in, I guess it just flattens them out because the steel's a lot harder. The aluminum ones, these studs are able to go in there, and the splines, I guess, cut into the aluminum instead of smashing down. So we'll be able to reuse the front ones, but I'm pretty sure they sell kits to replace these studs, and we'll just replace the ones in the back because we want to have good splines. If you've ever had a stud that comes loose and it's spinning in the hub, it just makes it a freaking nightmare to tighten down your lug nuts, and we definitely don't want that. So these will go into scrap, and I'll put these hubs into the blue bin for bonehead. The next thing moving forward is going to be getting these A-arms ready to go. Unfortunately, for the next couple scenes, I forgot to turn my microphone on. First thing we're going to do is remove this upper ball joint in the upper A-arm. Super easy to do with a pair of snap ring pliers. Next, I'll be using a ball joint tool that I used at Harbor Freight. It fits over the ball joint just about perfectly, and I think we'll be able to pop this out in the vise. Next, I remove the bearings from the upper and lower A-arms with the press. Super easy to do using a socket, and I found a brass bushing that fit just perfectly on the underside of the A-arm, allowing us to push the bearing through without causing any damage at all. All right, so our upper A-arm is ready for powder coat. Now the lower A-arm, unfortunately, the lower ball joint is fixed. So if this ball joint goes bad, you're kind of SOL, dude. You'd have to replace the entire lower A-arm. That's kind of a crappy design by Suzuki, but it is what it is. Now I do have a fix where we're actually we're just going to be lopping this sumbitch off. Now I can't take credit for this entirely. I've seen this on forums like forever. Guys have been doing this with Z400s for a long time, and I've even done this with one of my Z400s back in the day. We are literally going to take the Sawzall and cut this ball joint off right about where this kind of like cylinder portion is. We're going to chop it right there. Crazy? Yes. But I've got safety glasses on, so it's okay. eBay? Bet you thought I was going to throw that straight in a trash can, didn't you? Gotta keep you guessing. So now we're going to mount this on the bench as best as we can. This can be kind of difficult. Now, as you can see, we've got a raw piece of steel there with no hole in it. But if you come around the back, there is an existing hole. This 15-30 seconds bit fits in there literally perfectly. So we're just going to punch through right from the back until we're all the way through. I'm going to take my time as I'm doing this because this can get hot, especially with bigger drills. We're going to use this Tap Magic. Any kind of cutting oil is a good idea, especially when you're dealing with bigger drills. Just get that on our bit there and just kind of slowly work it. And I might take breaks. Depends how thick this damn thing is. Boom. Now drilling with these larger drill bits by hand can get out of control. So we're going to see if we can chuck this thing up in the drill press and bore this thing out a little bit bigger. Now to make sure we're mounted up in the chuck nice and straight, I have the old bit on there, the smaller bit that we've already drilled through, just to make sure that we're good and straight. Now we can throw in the larger bit, put our cutting fluid on here. Now just double check the alignment to make sure that we will be tapping straight into our hole here. If we don't make sure this goes through straight, especially when we're threading something that's really deep, and especially steel because it's really strong, the tap will slowly be crooked and it'll eventually get so hard that it won't be able to cut, and then the tap will snap if you continue to try to cut it. So it's really important that we go in straight. Put our cutting fluid on our tap. You guys might not be able to see this, but I'm rolling up a paper towel and stuffing it underneath because that cutting oil is going to start draining all over my vise. All right, now we can start spinning this. I'm going to use a spanner wrench for like a shock absorber but eventually this chuck will slip. We really just want to get it started here. They do make special chucks just for thread taps. I just don't have one, so I'm going to do my best to lock this down. All right, I think we'll be all right with that. This is just a really awkward scenario because I can't chuck it up and face it upward because it definitely would have been better going in from the top. And coming in from this way, it's really difficult to get like a tap tool on here or anything. So now I'm gonna go by hand. I'm gonna be using a torque wrench because as I'm tightening this down, it's really important, one, to keep the pressure straight up and down. Because again, if I have the big T handle, we're gonna hit up against the A-arm. So the reason I took the torque wrench is because as you do this, we've got a long way to go here. You start to get impatient, you're going faster and faster, and you're pulling harder and harder. You don't even realize it. Before you know it, you snap the tap. So by putting the torque on here, I have it set to 30 foot-pounds. It will beep and let me know that I'm pulling a little bit too hard. If it does come to that, then I might need to back it off, put a little bit of oil on it. We want to make sure we're keeping this thing good and lubricated all the way until the end. That's what she said. Well, it took about 15 minutes, but we are through. See if we can buzz this out of here with the Milwaukee. Not bad. And one last thing I want to do is just true up our edge up here. We want this to be as flat as possible. Now, the best way to do this would really be putting it in a mill and making it 100% flat, but I don't have a mill. I can do some aluminum stuff in the drill press, but not really steel. So I'm just gonna do it by eye. It's not like something that has to be super precise, but we do want a flat mounting surface because there's gonna be a jam nut going up against this. That looks pretty much flush. And one last thing I'm going to do is come in with this deburring bit and just finish it off so it's nice and clean. That should be good. All right, guys, there it is. Threads came out nice and clean. And now we have a replaceable ball joint. All I need is a universal threaded ball joint. Pop right in there. And you could even adjust the camber if you really wanted to. But I actually took measurements before I even cut this off so that we can put it right back to the stock location. Whew, kind of a pain in the ass. I would say it's not the hardest job in the world, but if you're going to attempt to do this, you definitely want to have some skill and experience with tapping specifically, because it definitely can test your patience. If you go too fast, you will snap that tap and you're pretty much done. Let's move on to something a little bit easier. And we'll pop the bearings out of our rear carrier. Use this Tusk seal puller. Get our seals out. Did that just rip the front part of the seal out? I don't think I've ever seen that happen before. There we go. All right, we're gonna have to improvise here and use my old crappy bearing puller because I thought I had the right size in the new tool, but I don't. So hopefully the old one can still get the job done. You can see how tiny these components are compared to that other one. It's just really, it's not a very good tool. I'm gonna heat this up right off the bat so it's got a chance. All right, here we go. Ah, we got it. Yes. The crappy tool has pulled yet another bearing. No rust in here either, nice. And that is why you should never throw away even crappy tools. You just never know when you're gonna need them. Junk. I wanna remove the stud from the back here so that we can get some new zinc coating on it. My stud pullers don't go up to this size, so we're gonna use the classic double nut trick. Oh man, that's pretty tight. Let's give it some heat. bitch. Man, that was super tight. But this is good to go. I'm gonna put this in the Vapor Blast box. You guys have probably noticed we're doing some modifications that don't exactly leave this Z400 being OEM. You know, originally this was supposed to be a very OEM build. Now we are doing a lot of OEM parts on this, but I've actually, you know, since I've decided to do the updated look, you know, with the new design scheme, and I've also decided that this is probably going to be my new personal quad. It's going to be replacing the KFX 450R as my personal rider. And instead of, you know, I was gonna build it so that like a collector or somebody would want it, and a lot of those guys are like purists and everything has to be OEM. Since I'm probably gonna be hanging on to this one for quite a while, I decided to make it more for longevity. So we're gonna powder coat the frame, doing those replaceable ball joints on the bottom end, just like really good, like convenient upgrades that will probably be nice down the road. So anyways, we are gonna break into this carburetor and just see what's going on inside. But before we do that, if you guys remember a couple videos ago, I had put up this dash panel from the LTZ 400 project. I put this in the eBay store, and it did go to a winning bid. It was won by Landon Wilds. He said, "I'm so glad I won this. It will look great on my 05 LTZ 400, and you can sign it wherever it looks best on the front. If you could shout out my TikTok, Landon Wilds. And this is my favorite series so far. Hope you have good luck with the build and have a good day." So I appreciate that, Landon, and I appreciate everybody that did bid on this auction. Again, all the proceeds that go in from these products, they all go right back into the shop and making future videos for you guys. So anyways, let's go ahead and sign this thing. He said on the front, so the dash sits with the indicators facing the rider. So the front would be over here. I think I'll sign probably right across this little front portion here. Not bad. It can be really difficult signing stuff on like contours and things like that. Thank you again, Landon, for bidding on this dash cover. That will help the channel tremendously. Now, speaking of help with the channel, we have got a number of parts here that came in from Power Sports Nation, and I'm also excited that Partzilla has been watching the videos, and they reached out to me, and they're going to be helping with the build. We're going to open that up in a second. There is one other thing that I want to go over, and that is the seat cover. I did pick a winner from the Instagram post. The post got almost 2,400 likes, which is freaking crazy, almost 240 comments. It was the design post, and it was really funny. There's a lot of people talking about the heel guards being blue. A lot of people don't want to see them being blue, so I have decided I'm going to coat those heel guards in silver to match the bumper and the A-arms and the subframe. I'm also going to update the graphics a little bit, so that's, you guys will see. I think you'll be happy with it. It was just so funny. I think one of the comments, the guy was like, the addition of heel guards is a sign of the lower levels of testosterone in society today. You guys always crack me up. There's one other thing. We have the seat cover. That was in that post. So there were about 240 comments. I read through all of them, and I did pick a winner. And it's going to go to Andrew Topnotch. Andrew is actually a subscriber that I've met before. I met him at the Dunes, and he let me rip his YFZ 450R. Super, super awesome guy. He's been a supporter of the channel for a really long time, and he's got a Z400. So Andrew, I will send you a DM, and you can send me your seat, and I'll get you all fixed up with a brand new cover. I appreciate everything you've done, man, and I appreciate everybody that commented on that post. So let's go ahead and tear into this carburetor. Okay, guys, so we've got a genuine Mikuni here. I wanted to replace this knockoff carburetor. You can see they are similar, but not quite the same. I see the bowls have some difference there, and a couple other things too, but I'm just more and more not liking to run the aftermarket carburetors. Even the ones that, you know, the 4-stroke ones are usually better than the 2-stroke ones, I've noticed, at least in terms of reliability and consistency. But I'm having problems with them more and more often, and I'm discovering they're more difficult to tune. Usually, sometimes you get one that's really good, but why take the risk? So I didn't want to run this one. This came from Power Sports Nation. You guys probably saw it in the video. I had ordered it. Cameron reached out to me, and he said they had another one there that was kind of unsellable. He's like, do you want a project, or do you want to just have one that you can clean up and put on? And yeah, I'm sure you guys can guess which one I chose. I chose the project. What a dummy I am, because the slide doesn't move or anything. So basically, I just want to pop the bowl off. The butterfly, I don't think, moves. This thing is like totally seized. I just want to take the bowl off the top and the side and just see what it looks like in here, and hopefully we can save this thing. Oh man, definitely want to use a JIS screwdriver on these. Oh, look at that, it's loose. Uh-oh, that could be a bad thing. They're all loose. I see the gasket is just kind of hanging out here. I'm pretty sure that this came off of the one Z400 that was like sinking into the ground. It was in my yard walk video, and that thing definitely looked like it had seen better days. Okay, at least we've got parts in here. I was a little bit worried because with those loose bolts, you know, that makes me think that somebody might have scavenged parts. It doesn't look too bad in here, actually. We'll replace all these jets and stuff. Yeah, okay. Not bad, not bad. The needle valve actually moves. The body, I'm not worried about. We'll send this out for vapor blasting, and I guarantee you this thing will look brand spanking new. That's part of why I wanted to do this. It's really satisfying to take something like this and restore it, because the before and afters, man, it's just worth it. Let's see what's under this side cover. I'll replace all of the hardware for sure, and we can get this side plate re-zinc coated, and whatever else I can remove from this. Whew, man, that thing is nasty, no doubt. Oh boy. Jeez. Oh man, this, I might have to let this soak in like PB Blaster, because this is seized. I'm going to pry very gently to see if this moves. Oh man, that is like solid. Yeah, I think we'll have to let that sit in oil, because I'm going to wind up breaking something. Yikes. Guys, I have spent, no lie, probably at least 2 full days of work just getting all of the parts together that this Z400 needs. This isn't even all of it. That's 66 different pieces right there, going over all of the bolts and nuts and everything and seeing what needs to be replaced. I want to have all OEM hardware on this thing as much as I can possibly do, and that shit adds up, man. That's where companies like Power Sports Nation and Partzilla come in, because honestly, man, I probably couldn't afford to do the builds quite like I do them without the help of these companies. So if you guys are looking to support me, the best way to do that is by working with the companies that work with me. So you can hit up Power Sports Nation. They're a huge provider of used parts, the largest in the industry. And then if you're looking for OEM parts, Partzilla is the place to go. Now, I'm not going to lie, guys. It's like past 1 a.m. and I'm running out of steam here. But I'm excited to look at these parts. So I figure we'll open them up. We've got more gender reveal paper. Oh, man. This is good stuff, dude. You guys are going to be happy with this. Oh. The upgraded shocks for the Z400. Power Sports Nation had them. They came off that same 05 Z400, man. These things are in incredibly good shape, dude. Short of doing the springs, because they're chipped up, the shock bodies almost look like brand new. Wow. And then these are the cases from that Z400. So you guys know the cases, oh, geez, they weren't kidding. So this one's not exactly perfect either. These were unsellable, they told me. Can see why. Right here. This has been broken, and it looks like somebody tried welding it, and there's another break down at the bottom too. So they were not going to resell these. They said they would send them just so that I could take a look if it's something I want to repair, or if it's better than the 03. I think we're going to actually try to fix up the 03 cases. We're going to do that in a future video, but still, it's awesome that they sent these. Who knows? Maybe we'll end up saving these cases instead. In looking for cases, I've discovered that I guess that's a common spot on these Z400s where they break. And there's about 100 right side case halves for sale on eBay, and they're like worthless. It's the left side that breaks on them. And so all these broken cases, and people try to sell the good right half. Like my right half case is in good shape, but that's not the one that anybody needs. So we'll see if we can fix that in a future video. Let's pop open our brand new OEM parts from Partzilla. Oh, dude. You guys know what this is, right? A brand new KT335. And it's got a freaking tire bonnet on it. They said they had one in stock. What are the freaking odds, man? Dude, this is so cool. We've got an OEM taillight. These are all OEM, genuine Suzuki parts. We've got a new shifter boot, and this is kind of funny. I thought that I ordered a service manual, but it's actually the Z400 owner's manual. That's actually really cool, though. So I guess this is what came with the quad back in 2003. I thought that was a warning decal in the bag. That would have been a score for this build. And we've got a brand new chain slider, and check this out. This is Suzuki part numbers. This is the Suzuki thread lock. I got all 4 of them, so we can do it just like they would do in the service manual when they recommend the part numbers. And then we've even got the Suzuki grease. How cool is that? It's the little things, guys. I mean, I just think that is so cool. That all came from Partzilla. And then we got the tire here, man. I can't get over the tire bonnet. Man, that is so awesome. So we finally have our full set of brand new OEM tires. These ones are fresh though, man. Look at that. If this is correct, I believe that means it was made in the 26th week of 2022. So this is a fresh tire. I'm not going to lie, guys. It does feel a little bit different than those ones from 2003. So, I mean, those are brand new old stock. And this one is like brand spanking new. That is so cool. Now, there's a whole boatload of OEM parts that are still coming. No lie, guys. After I put this list into the Partzilla shopping cart, there were like, I think it was 274 parts that I need for this build. Now, that includes all little bolts and clips and stuff. But all of that stuff adds up, especially OEM parts. So I really, really appreciate companies like Power Sports Nation and Partzilla stepping up to help out with these builds, man. It is just freaking incredible. I hope that the excitement can translate to you guys because this is just going to be an awesome build. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps out tremendously. And if you want to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing. Check me out on Instagram. I've been trying to keep up with putting up updates on there so that you guys can see what's going on in between videos. And sometimes I put stuff up on there that isn't included on YouTube so you can get some special bonus content. It's Michael Sabo 350 over on Instagram. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out. Food time.